What's up guys, welcome back. This is Anime Crossover. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Reborn as Dr. Doom Part 7. Now, let's begin. Suspending himself mid-air, Magneto directed a piercing gaze at Naruto, who halted in tandem with him. Do you truly believe you can confront me alone, given my identity, Metal Man? Magneto inquired. Indeed, I accept the challenge, Naruto responded. Then you are a fool, Magneto stated. He subsequently raised his left hand towards Naruto and commenced utilizing his abilities to dismantle his armor. At least he made an effort as well. It was only when Magneto acknowledged that his abilities had no impact on Naruto's armor whatsoever. What? This cannot be, Magneto stated. Is someone experiencing a bit of performance anxiety? Naruto inquired. Observing Magneto's astonished expression as he comprehended that his powers were ineffective against his armor. However, that is anticipated, given that Naruto had meticulously prepared his armor for this specific situation some time ago. He designed his armor to generate a magnetic field that aligned with any external magnetic field attempting to influence it, effectively countering any potential effects. Similarly, akin to two magnets with identical poles oriented towards one another, the magnetic field produced by his armor would counteract the magnetic field attempting to influence it, rendering Naruto impervious to magnokinetic abilities. There is no need for concern. It is reportedly quite common among men of a certain age, Naruto stated. This only served to further aggravate Magneto. I am unable to remove your armor. However, I can still ensure it becomes your Koak, Magneto exclaimed with urgency. As Naruto approached, he executed a punch to his chest, propelling him forcefully into the ground. He showed no concern for interrupting Magneto's monologue. Since Naruto is not a typical shonen manga or anime protagonist who allows his enemy to finish speaking before launching an attack. No, his perspective aligns with that of number 17 from Dragon Ball Super. Engaging his opponents regardless of their actions, particularly if they are in the process of powering up or something similar. That is the reason he admired 17 throughout the Tournament of Power arc. Magneto exclaimed in frustration as he ascended from the ground and soared back into the air, a protective barrier enveloping his body. Upon doing so, he elevated both hands towards Naruto and unleashed magnetic rays in his direction, which Naruto effectively countered by summoning his own force field. Following his actions, he conjured two small portals adjacent to his fists, positioned near Magneto's abdomen. Naruto decisively struck through the portals near his hands, delivering a powerful punch to Magneto's stomach. Consistently, it was significant enough that it caused him to lower his force field. Upon this occurrence, Naruto deactivated his force field and swiftly approached Magneto. Following that, he executed a left uppercut to the man's chin. Propelling his head upward, the remainder of his body followed suit seamlessly. Although this occurred for just a brief moment before Magneto halted his rise. He expelled a small amount of blood from his mouth afterward. Are you prepared to concede at this point? Naruto inquired. Ascending to engage Magneto at eye level, he stood with his hands clasped behind his back, reminiscent of Morpheus from the Matrix. As you can observe, despite your abilities, it is unlikely that you will succeed in overcoming me. Therefore, I suggest you surrender and accompany me willingly. This approach will allow you to engage with your fellow Evos in a positive manner. Naruto articulated. Never, I will not yield to you. Magneto responded with intensity. What do you mean by Evos? He inquired. I refer to individuals such as yourself, who possess extraordinary abilities. These may arise from natural evolution or through various other means, including scientific experimentation, Naruto responded. Evolved humans. This term resonates more accurately with individuals like us, as opposed to the unpleasant label of mutant. The latter conjures images of grotesque creatures, wouldn't you concur? Do not assume you can divert my attention, Magneto stated. He subsequently unleashed a series of concentrated, inflated rays directed at Naruto. The individual sighed and elevated his force field for self-defense. It appears you have chosen to approach this with difficulty. Very well, Naruto stated. He subsequently conjured a substantial magical portal before him, which materialized behind Magneto. Upon the portal's activation, Naruto swiftly dislodged Magneto's helmet and secured the individual in a sleep chokehold, simultaneously initiating a telepathic assault on his mind. "No. Stop," Magneto exclaimed. He faced challenges as well. However, it proved to be ineffective. Naruto had him entirely at his mercy, which swiftly rendered Magneto unconscious. Once he was Naruto, he utilized his telekinesis to seize the man, emerged from his magic portal beside him, and subsequently closed it. Naruto utilized his telekinesis to seize Magneto's renowned helmet and lifted it to his hands, where he grasped it. Following his actions, he began to return in order to reunite with his team. Somewhat dissatisfied that the Master of Magnetism provided only this level of challenge in their confrontation, leaving Naruto to contemplate when he would encounter an opponent capable of providing a genuine challenge. NHN. Magneto murmured softly, gradually beginning to open his eyes. Upon completion, he promptly recalled the events that had transpired, how he was defeated and subdued by Naruto. As he reflected on this, he started to observe his environment. Upon regaining consciousness, he discovered that he was lying on a cot within a cell, with a collar fastened around his neck. "No," Magneto murmured, as he came to terms with his circumstances. The condition of an inmate. However, before he could reflect on those thoughts, he heard a familiar voice addressing him. "It appears that you are now awake." As he turned his head toward the source of the voice, Magneto observed Naruto seated in a chair directly in front of him. The two individuals were divided by a transparent barrier. Upon encountering Naruto, Magneto felt his anger rising to the forefront. He subsequently commenced invoking his abilities. Ultimately, he was unable to do so. Magneto was unable to sense his powers in any capacity. The man displayed a look of both surprise and horror on his face. "Allow me to deduce that you attempted to access your abilities and discovered that you were unable to?" Naruto speculated. Magneto remained silent in response. However, the expression on his face conveyed everything Naruto required to understand. "I believe that to be the case," Naruto stated. "That is to be anticipated. The collar around your neck is designed to dampen your powers. Therefore, you will not be able to utilize them," he explained. "A dampening field is continuously generated within your cell as well. Therefore, I advise against any thoughts of removing your collar and attempting an escape, not that removal is feasible. Please consider the extensive security measures integrated into it," he stated. "I understand," Magneto responded. "Yes," Naruto stated. "Now that we have addressed the most important matters, let's engage in a constructive conversation." "A discussion? Please, do not condescend," Magneto retorted. "If you intend to end my life, please proceed without delay." Upon hearing Magneto's words, Naruto let out a dismissive snort. Magneto raised an eyebrow at his actions. "Is there something you find amusing?" he inquired. "Indeed. I concur with your statement," Naruto responded. He then displayed a mischievous smile. "As you can understand, Max, had I intended to take your life, I would have been able to do so without any difficulty," he clarified. Magneto experiences fear for the first time in a considerable period. The smile that Naruto is currently wearing on his face is not the only factor at play. Additionally, it was due to his use of his original name. A name that Magneto has meticulously protected since his youth in the Nazi camps. A name that even those nearest to him were unaware of. However, Naruto was indeed aware of it, instilling fear in him. "How do you know that name?" Magneto inquired. "Simply Max. I retrieved it from within your thoughts," Naruto responded, gently tapping the left side of his head with his left finger, informing Magneto that he has accessed his thoughts during his unconscious state, where Naruto acquired extensive knowledge regarding the Master of Magnetism. It is important to note that Sinister was responsible for the torture and experimentation during his time in the concentration camps. The information Thaddeus shared with him and the other Primarchs, which he retrieved from Exodus's mind, indicated to Naruto that both Sinister and Apocalypse existed in their comic book forms within this reality. He was pleased to learn this information, particularly in the context of Apocalypse. Sinister was unremarkable, merely a minor inconvenience. However, Apocalypse presented a distinct situation. Naruto had already initiated his strategies for addressing the situation when the individual presented himself. Ones that would incapacitate him indefinitely. "I understand," Max responded. Is that the rationale for my confinement? You intend to compel me to endure the suffering and torment of my youth for your own entertainment? Once more, no, Naruto responded. You are currently in this cell as a consequence of your actions against my nation, and as a precautionary measure to ensure that you do not create further disturbances. However, your duration here may be shortened based on your behavior. Could you clarify what you mean? Max inquired. Before I respond, let me provide you with an overview of the Latveria that my team and I have diligently worked to establish, Naruto stated. He subsequently snapped his fingers. Upon his arrival, 2 Doombots positioned themselves on either side of him. The transparent barrier that divided them ascended into the air until it completely vanished. Afterward, Naruto rose to his feet. Come, Max, permit me to present to you the world through my perspective, he stated. Upon hearing this, Magneto considered the option of being obstinate and staying in his cell. However, I recognized that this was an exceptional opportunity that should not be overlooked. Particularly if he could acquire significant intelligence regarding Naruto and Latveria. Additionally, there is the matter of the location of his followers. With that in consideration, Max rose and approached Naruto's side. Thank you, Naruto responded. Shall we proceed? He inquired. Naruto commenced his walk, with Max and the 2 Doombots trailing closely behind him. The team navigated through a series of twists and turns until they reached the launch pad. A hovercar was awaiting their arrival, Naruto's individual item. He proceeded directly to it upon their arrival. The remainder of his group trailed behind him. Naruto and Max entered the hovercar. Once they were secure, Naruto initiated the craft and engaged the autopilot system. They have charted a route that will guide them through the heart of Doomstadt. As the vehicle navigated through the air, with the Doombots trailing behind, Max found himself in awe of the sights before him. The interaction between mutants and ordinary humans, characterized by a harmonious coexistence devoid of animosity, is particularly noteworthy. This is. Magneto contemplated. He subsequently directed his gaze towards Naruto. Is this truly your country? It is, Naruto replied. A location where Evos and humans coexist harmoniously, he explained. There is a great deal more to discuss, but I will reserve that for a later time. Evo. That term has been used previously, Magneto acknowledged, recalling the moment when Naruto employed it in their previous confrontation. Indeed. This is a concept I have developed, and I aspire for it to be embraced globally. Eliminating terms such as mutant, as I mentioned in our initial discussion, is essential. I find such labels, and others like them, to be unacceptable. Individuals like you are still human, Max. You simply possess exceptional abilities as a result of genetic variation, which should never be a reason for exclusion. Naruto articulated. You know, King Naruto, your manner of speaking brings to mind my oldest and dearest friend, Magneto remarked. I am confident that he would appreciate the opportunity to visit your country, as it is a location we have both aspired to explore. However, I am curious about how the global community will perceive the current status of Latveria. They will either become like it, or they will face the consequences of my wrath, Naruto stated with clarity. Maintaining the same charming smile he displayed earlier. Are you suggesting we engage in conflict with the entire world? Max inquired. If it comes to that, then yes, Naruto responded without hesitation. While I remain optimistic that such a situation may not arise, the prevalence of individuals lacking wisdom and integrity in positions of authority worldwide makes this outcome seem improbable. However, should it come to pass, I would welcome it, as it would signify a harmonious transition towards a unified front under my leadership, ideally with minimal conflict. Do you aspire to dominate the world? Magneto inquired. No, my intention is to preserve it. However, this can only be achieved by uniting it and assuming control. Naruto replied. As you are aware, Max, humanity can often display cruelty, viciousness, and selfishness. There is a tendency to reject what is not understood without consideration. Atrocities are committed against one another based solely on superficial differences such as skin color or ethnic background. My aim is to put an end to this behavior, not only for the world but also for all its inhabitants, regardless of whether they are an EVO like us or not. Those are significant statements, however, can you genuinely deliver on them? Max inquired. In response, Naruto offered him a deadpan look. My previous actions towards you and your team should clarify the question you just posed. I suppose it does, Max acknowledged. Regarding my colleagues? All individuals are alive and well, receiving humane treatment similar to yours, with the exception of two, Fabian Cortez and Exodus, who are deceased. Why? Magneto inquired. Both individuals received multiple warnings to cease their actions, which they disregarded. Consequently, my team proceeded to act in alignment with my directives and subdued them. Naruto responded. As I mentioned previously, any attempt to invade my country will result in significant consequences, he stated. They have reaped the consequences of their own actions. Indeed, you played a crucial role in my survival, Max responded. You are distinct from those two, Max, Naruto responded. You genuinely prioritize the rights and well-being of EVOs, which sets you apart. While your methods may require refinement, I understand the challenges you faced in your past. I hope you will consider moving beyond those approaches and collaborate with me to create the world and future I envision. Do you desire my collaboration? Max inquired. Affirmative, Naruto responded. Particularly given his aspiration for Magneto to be by his side in the future. He was an individual whom Naruto held in high regard during his previous life. A man who recognized the reality of situations and took decisive action in response. Even if it resulted in his hands being stained with the blood of his adversaries. I believe we have the potential to achieve remarkable outcomes collaboratively. Additionally, it would bring joy to your children. Upon hearing this, Magneto displayed a look of shock on his face. I do not have any children. That statement is false. I am not, Naruto replied. He subsequently activated a holographic display and guided Magneto's focus towards it. The displayed images featured Wanda, Pietro, and Lorna. Included is an image of Magneto, alongside the children's mother, Magda, and Susanna. A DNA match has confirmed that Magneto is indeed the father of all three individuals. Naruto ensured that he took the necessary steps immediately upon placing Magneto into custody. Based on the information presented, you are identified as a familial paternal match to the twins Pietro and Wanda Maximoff, as well as their younger half-sister Lorna Dane, Naruto clarified. So Magneto, you are the father, he stated with emphasis. Magneto displaying a Homer Simpson-like expression upon discovering that he has three children. Observing this, Naruto retrieved his phone and captured a quick photograph. He subsequently returned it to his pocket. Eventually, Magneto emerged from his stupor. Are these my children? He inquired. Do you still doubt my words? Naruto inquired. No, I do, Max replied. The girls both possess my mother's eyes, while the boy bears a striking resemblance to my younger self, he explained. I find it hard to believe. Indeed, that is the truth, my friend, Naruto responded. Could you please inform me if they are performing adequately? Magneto inquired. Indeed, they are, Naruto responded. All three individuals reside in Latveria, is that so? Indeed, Naruto responded. Upon hearing this, Magneto could not suppress a smile. He subsequently posed a question that had just occurred to him. May I schedule a meeting with them? Actually, you are about to? Naruto stated. As he executed the maneuver, the hovercar descended and the top compartment opened. The team has returned to the original launch pad from which they commenced their tour of Doomstadt. However, on this occasion, Lorna, Wanda, and Pietro were positioned on it. Awaiting their arrival, Naruto organized this meeting as soon as he verified that Magneto was the biological father of all three individuals. To provide the children with the father they had been eager to meet. Additionally, it is important to reinforce Magneto's allegiance to Latveria as a whole. Upon witnessing his children, Magneto was taken aback. However, that initial shock was soon overshadowed by a sense of fear. Despite the challenges, he persevered and exited the hovercar to approach his children. Greetings. Magneto stated. Good afternoon, Wanda stated. Hello, Pietro responded. Hello, Lorna said. Are you our father? Indeed, it appears that I am, Magneto stated, displaying a gentle smile on his face. Before he realized it, he found himself shedding a few tears. During this occurrence, Naruto remained silent and observed attentively, facilitating the initial meeting between a father and his children without any disruptions. Naruto's perspective. I allowed Magneto to spend a few additional uninterrupted minutes with his children. Prior to my intervention, I observed their discussion. However, the purpose was solely to guide them to a designated room within the building, allowing them to sit comfortably and engage in further acquaintance. Upon completing this task, I took my leave. I have complete confidence that Magneto will not attempt any form of escape. Particularly since I had entrusted Jessica with the responsibility of overseeing the entire meeting. Additionally, considering the security measures I have implemented across my country, if Magneto were to make any inappropriate move, he would be neutralized swiftly and efficiently. However, I remain skeptical that any developments in that regard will occur. The expression I observed in old Max's eyes when he encountered his children was truly telling. I likely exhibit a similar expression when I observe Kristoff. A parent expressing admiration for their child. I am confident that he will behave appropriately. He should, if he wishes to continue enjoying quality time with his children. If he makes a misstep, I will sever all communication among the four of them. I will ensure that Max does not influence those three with his extreme views, preventing them from becoming like their counterparts in the comics. It is essential to recognize that they are citizens of my country, and it is imperative that no one misguides those who are under Naruto's protection. Should they choose to forfeit their life, proceeding forward. After completing my sole significant meeting for the day, I returned home. I proceeded to observe Kristoff's activities. Due to the various circumstances over the past few months, I have not been able to dedicate as much quality time to him as I had intended. I anticipated this outcome once I began to escalate my plans, yet it remains surprising. I allowed those thoughts to remain for a brief period before I set them aside. After completing the task, I had Brainiac provide me with Kristoff's location. One of the training fields that encircled the castle. I arrived at his location promptly, only to discover a remarkable view. Kristoff engaged in a sparring session with 3 Doombots, utilizing his Force Lance. Attired in a precise replica of Revan's armor from Star Wars. Upon observing this, I utilized my technopathy to establish communication with Brainiac. Brainiac, please confirm that I am not imagining things at this moment. My son is currently wearing a replica of Revan's armor from Star Wars, I stated. You are not mistaken, sir. Kristoff is depicted in an exact replica of Revan's armor. One that he created entirely on his own, Brainiac responded. Understood. Thank you, I responded. I subsequently severed our connection and continued to observe silently as Kristoff engaged in his sparring session against 3 Doombots. Similar to his companions nearby, participants included Laura, Riri, and Julio. Some individuals have become among Kristoff's closest friends since their arrival in Latveria. Pietro and Wanda are included on that list as well. Several additional minutes elapsed before the conclusion of Kristoff's spar, with him in the role of Naruto. At that moment, the Doombots retreated, and Kristoff took off his helmet. He then promptly noticed me, which brought a smile to his face. Father. Hello, son, I responded, approaching Kristoff and his associates. All of whom I greeted, and they greeted me in return. I must say, your armor is quite impressive. Choosing to replicate Revan's design among all the options available demonstrates a clear appreciation for KOTOR. It seems you have invested significant time in the game. I remarked. Certainly, Kristoff responded with enthusiasm. Well done. I remarked, offering him a gesture of encouragement. Could you please share the reasoning behind your decision to create Revan armor? I inquired. Given my strong sense of curiosity, I desired armor similar to yours, Father, Kristoff disclosed. He aimed to make a favorable impression on you, Mr. Naruto, Laura stated directly. Laura, Kristoff called out. His cheeks flushed with a hint of red, revealing his embarrassment. What seems to be the issue? Laura inquired. She tilted her head slightly. I apologize if I misinterpreted the social cues, she stated. This prompted both Riri and Julio to erupt in laughter. I too suppressed a laugh. It is currently typical for Laura to not comprehend social norms. Considering her upbringing prior to her arrival in Latveria, she is indeed participating in therapy to enhance her skills, and engaging with peers of her age group is certainly beneficial. However, if that recent performance is any indication, she still has considerable progress to make. I am confident that she will achieve her goals in due time. Gradually, the laughter subsided. I have what I need. In any case, I wish you all an enjoyable time. I stated. We will, Father, Kristoff replied. I am currently preparing to take everyone to view a new anime I discovered titled Fate, Stay Night. I responded, oh, that's a good one. I'm proud that my son is growing into a cultured man right in front of my eyes. I haven't even told you about Fate, Stay and the Nasuverse yet. He discovered it all on his own. That does make me a little concerned. Given Kristoff's penchant of converting things from fiction into reality, and given the scope of the Nasuverse, I'm hoping he doesn't try to recreate any noble phantasms. At least not till he is a little older. I made a mental note to keep Brainiac on the lookout for it. Then I took my final leave, not wanting to interrupt Kristoff's time with his pals. After that, I headed to my own laboratory facility. Even before I could sit down, Brainiac spoke to me. My Emperor, I have news I must share with you, he went on. And why didn't you do it earlier? I asked. The situation you were in was not optimal, Brainiac responded. Translation. The information Brainiac had to impart with me was not something that anyone could hear. They told me it was important. Understood. Now then, what is the information you wish to share with me? I told you so. When I did, Brainiac shared the details with me. That made me smile. Once I did, I began devising a strategy based on the knowledge Brainiac had just revealed with me, because it would take me to a location that I had been looking for quite some time. Atlantis. Unnamed Island, Atlantic Ocean, May 14, 2008. I stood on the island's beach, which Brainiac had told me about a few days previously. Thrag and Katma are standing on either side of me. They are dressed in military armor. A squad of Spartan warriors in water-capable combat armor stood behind us. All of us were waiting for Brainiac, the objective, to emerge on this island. While he did, I listened to NSYNC's Bye 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 inside my helmet. Since I suddenly felt compelled to. My MC died in Reborn before Deadpool and Wolverine came out, so he doesn't understand the meaning of the song. We waited until my armor's sensors detected numerous fast-moving things in the sea approaching our group's location. When I noticed this, I stopped the music and spoke up. I said, they have arrived. The moment I did, I could feel Thrag, Katma, and the Spartans ready for battle. Just as they ended, the things I had been tracking in the water burst out and landed in front of my group on the beach. The objects in question are Marvel Atlanteans, which, in my opinion, pale in comparison to DC Comics Atlanteans in every way. One important aspect to remember is that Marvel's Atlanteans are unable to breathe air. That is, all of them standing in front of us are wearing water-filled devices to keep them alive as they face us on land. All but one of them. Their commander is one of the few Atlanteans born in the Marvel Universe who can breathe air without difficulty and does not perish after a few minutes. The Atlantean, who I am confident knows the location of Atlantis, and with whom I hope to collaborate to bring it under my control. Because the Atlanteans, and hence their ruler Namor, are exactly as described in the comics in this world. That immediately put the fish dude with wings on my shit list. I will never allow his lecherous gaze to touch Susan. Now, only I have that right, but I am getting off subject. Back to the person I'm attempting to form an alliance with. I am referring to none other than Attuma. Surface dwellers, do you know whose island you have stepped foot up on? Attuma was yelling. That of the mighty Attuma, he cried. Getting a few cheers from his guys. Greetings, Attuma. My name is Naruto. I told him, and I know exactly whose island I and my people have set foot upon. If you know, then why? Attuma inquired. Because I have come to talk to you and hope to forge an alliance between us. That was my reply. Oh, and what could a surface dweller like you possibly offer the mighty Attuma? He was interested. Something I know you have sought for a long time. The rule of Atlantis. That was my reply. When I did, all arrogance departed Attuma's face and he finally placed a serious expression on it. Which implies the negotiations may now actually begin. Excellent. When I mentioned Atlantis, and knowing how long Attuma had tried to rule it, the Atlantean warlord and his army adjusted their postures somewhat. Which most people wouldn't notice, but I'm not like most folks. The same goes for my fighters. So we all knew that the instant Atuma and his troops adjusted their positions, they could attack us at any time. It doesn't matter, though. Let them arrive, for they pose no real harm to any of us. Atuma said, Surface Dweller, tell me, what do you know of Atlantis? First of all, my name is not Surface Dweller, it is Naruto. And you will address me as such. I told Atuma. I am unconcerned by the gaze he or his guys are directing at me. After all, I have a Thrag, who was prepared to slay everyone in front of us Viltrumite style with a mere flick of his wrist. Secondly, I know that Atlantis exists, but at the moment not much more than that. Since I am certain all records I have pertaining to the underwater city are useless, since they're decades old. That was my reply. Though I am not sure. For instance, is its ruler still a man by the name of Namor? I demanded information, even though I knew it was true. However, as I just told Atuma, that is likely the only concrete information I have on the Atlantis at the moment. Since then, the city and its residents have done an excellent job of staying under the radar. All of the records I've found about the undersea city provide little information about it. Even the Kamar Taj masters have limited knowledge of the area. I even asked the Ancient One about Atlantis, but she had little to offer me. Even with all of my tools and meta-knowledge, I was having difficulty locating the city itself. That's why I diverted some of the resources I had set aside to find Atlantis to find someone who knew where it was, and that person was Atuma, who I am currently trying to form an alliance with. I hope it works out, since I had already identified Atuma as a potential Cabal member. After all, when I take over the planet, I'll need someone to command the world's oceans, and I'm not going to put that ugly, egotistical prick Namor in charge of it. Especially because I despise the dude. Seriously, I thought Namor was incredibly awful. That is why I am ensuring that his ass is made into fish sticks as soon as feasible. Yeah, I really don't like Namor's character at all, which is why he's getting bashed a little, but it won't happen too often. Do not dare to mention that worthless half-breed's name in my presence. Atuma screamed. He has a little irritated expression on his face. So I take it that information is accurate, was my reply. Atuma confessed, yes, it is. Good to know, I said. Now then, Lord Atuma, would you mind confirming if the other information I have managed to collect in regards to Atlantis is accurate or not? I asked him this. To what end? Atuma questioned me. So that our two peoples may forge an alliance and conquer it. That was my reply. I think I made myself perfectly clear earlier. I muttered. Surely you jest? Atuma inquired. I said, I do not. Not when it comes to matter of such importance. Do you surface dwellers honestly think you stand a chance at conquering the jewel of the sea, Atlantis? He asked us. Well, I'm sure we'll do better than someone who has failed to conquer it numerous times. Katma interrupted. She smirked. You dare speak to the great Atuma that way, surface woman? Atuma exclaimed fiercely. Enough, I said. I'm releasing some of my magical powers. This caused everyone to back down. When I observed what had transpired, I shifted my attention to Katma. You were out of line. I told her sharply, because I was absolutely not pleased with what she had just done. Katma dropped on her right knee and bent her head as soon as I finished speaking. Her face showed a contrite expression. Forgive me, my emperor. I meant no disrespect towards you, nor to bring any upon you. Her reply was, I understand. However, do not let it happen again, I told her. Yes, of course, she said. Katma then stood up. When she finished, I returned my focus to Atuma. Forgive my subordinate. She spoke out of turn, even though what she said was the truth. I murmured, disregarding the furious stare that Atuma started giving me. Face facts, Atuma. As you are right now conquering Atlantis and deposing Namor is impossible for you. Besides, even if you did succeed, how much would it cost you? How much of your army would you lose in the process? Then, how long would it be until those still loyal to Namor began to plot to overthrow you? Or better yet, how long would it be until someone just decided to overthrow you just because? You dare speak that way to the mighty Atuma? Atuma yelled at me. Yes, I dare. I simply responded, because it seems everyone else around you is too scared to tell you the truth. Which is that you're putting yourself in a never-ending cycle. That will either end up with you dead, or mutually assured destruction on both sides. However, if you agree to an alliance with me, that won't happen. Should you accept my offer to work together, I cannot only promise you Atlantis, but rule over all the world's oceans. So long as you agree to the terms of the offer course. Atuma asked, which would it be? That you abide by the rules I set, when I become the sovereign of this planet we all call home. My words were, so you would have become your subordinate? Atuma shouted. I immediately said, yes, but also no. You would not be a subordinate, but a partner in a group that would lead Earth to greater heights. All under your command? Atuma inquired, naturally. I said, I mean I am the one who had the idea in the first place, and founded the group you will be a part of. Should you choose to accept my offer, and if I don't? Atuma inquired. Then me and my people will let you and yours go on your way. You can go back to trying and failing to conquer Atlantis. While me and mine actually one day achieve what you are currently striving for. And when that day comes, and if you choose to stand against us Atuma, then you will be shown no mercy. For all those that stand against me shall fall, I told you so. Looking Atuma right in the eyes. You truly believe you surface dwellers can stand against us Atlanteans? I was asked. As my people and I have said many times since this conversation started, yes. We can. It was my response. Atuma mused, interesting. Well then, let us see if you can back up these claims you so proudly make. Naruto, I Atuma challenge you to single combat, he said. Oh, and what do I get if I win? I inquired. Atuma said, name your price. The worst things he could have said, but I am not going to tell him that. Okay, if I win I want you to pledge your fealty to me. You will become my body within the oceans of the world, and carry out the will of Naruto within them. I finished my statement. Atuma said, fine. But should I win you will remove your designs from Atlantis, and aid me and people in conquering it and never set foot in the city itself, or any territory surrounding it. Deal, I simply said. So then, where do you want to do this? Land or sea? Which, again, makes no difference to me. Because, like Kaido from One Piece, whether on land, sea, or air, I will not lose. Especially if it's one-on-one. At least against someone on Atuma's level. Huh? Never imagined I'd say that, yet here I am. Life is odd at times. Ah well. Atuma stated, I'll give you a fighting chance, Naruto. Land. Works for me. I said. Once I did. Both Atuma's soldiers and my own entourage gave us a wide berth. After that, Atuma raised his sword and pointed it at me. Your weapon, raise it, he exclaimed. When he did, I summoned my personal force lance and extended both ends to activate staff mode. I then twirled it around a few times before resting it on my left shoulder. Is that really the weapon you're going with? Atuma inquired. Yes, it is. I responded, especially when all force lances are produced using adamantium. So it will just take one smack from it for someone's head to cave in. Well, normal people. Enough talk, let's get this show on the road. That was my reply. Atuma responded, very well. He then prepared to commence the battle. As he did, I decided to start playing Bye 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 in my helmet again. The dang song is stuck in my mind for some reason, and I can't get enough of it today. While the song started, Atuma lunged at me, swinging his blade downwards. However, given my talents and abilities, I effortlessly avoided his strike by moving to the right. After that, I slammed one end of my force lance into Atuma's stomach. My attack pushed him backward, causing him to fall to his knees. When his men saw this, they were astonished, but I didn't pay them any attention as I closed the gap with Atuma and smacked him in the face with one end of my force lance. My strike knocked out many of the Atlantean's teeth and sent blood streaming from his mouth. It also pushed him into the ocean, where I followed him without hesitation. My suit automatically switched to underwater mode the moment I was completely submerged. Seeing Atuma's sinking body, I flew directly toward him with my suit's small foot rockets. I'm jamming to my tunes in the process. When he reached the Atlantean warlord, he backed away and attempted to kick him. The man had been playing possum, or, as I guess, red herring. Nice try, but not good enough, I told Atuma, who only glanced at me through bloodshot eyes. Erg. With a yell, he swam at me and slashed. However, none of his attacks ever landed. I evaded every single one. This simply made Atuma furious. Although I understand why. I mean, the water is meant to be Atlantean's home soil. But here I am, owning his ass in it. If I were in his situation, I'd be upset as well. Good thing I am not. Dodging another slash from Atuma, I decided it was time to finish this. Especially considering my song was nearly finished. So, with that in mind, I immediately slid under Atuma and delivered a punch to the gut, sending him soaring upward. So much so that he broke the surface of the sea. I followed straight behind him as he did. Atuma continued to fly higher into the air as he broke through the water, and I followed him. Finally reaching him. Once I did, I grabbed him with my free hand and slung him over my shoulder toward the beach where the duel began. Atuma landed on it with an audible bang, leaving a sizable crater. Seeing this, I nodded to myself. I then flew towards Atuma, who attempted to stand up. But before he could finish, I approached him. I then struck him multiple times with my force lance. Hearing crackling noises during the process, these were undoubtedly Atuma's bones cracking. But he will be okay. After all, I am not attempting to kill him. I'm just showing him his place. I kept repeating this for another minute till I discovered Atuma was blocked out. When I saw this, I stopped beating him with my force lance. I then came closer to him, grabbing his neck with my free hand. I then pulled his beaten and broken form into the air for everyone to witness. As you all can clearly see, I, Naruto, am the clear Naruto of this duel. I proudly announced. Just as bye concluded. A fantastic way to seal my victory. Atuma and his soldiers are currently serving Naruto. It appears that my ambition of turning Namor into fish sticks will come true sooner than I had anticipated. After declaring victory, I put Atuma back on the ground. As I did, his and my soldiers closed on our position. After that, the Atlanteans formed a line in front of me. Kneel. I ordered them, which is just what they did. Underneath my mask, I smile. Good, it seems you are an honorable lot. That was my reply. I just hope your leader shares your values. One of the Atlantean warriors stepped up. He does, Lord Naruto. I said, we shall see. I then snapped my fingers at the Spartans, pointing at Atuma. See to his injuries. Yes, Emperor. They all replied at the same time. The Spartans then began caring for Atuma, quickly addressing to any big harm I had caused. That's why the gigantic Atlantean regained consciousness in just 15 minutes. After that, he looked directly at me, and I returned his gaze. The entire region was silent. I was beaten, so as agreed I will honor the terms of our duel. Atuma then replied. He then kneeled in front of me and said, I am now in your service. I am your body in the seas and will carry out your will in them. Naruto. Atuma spoke, and I knew he was saying the truth because of my telepathy. That does not mean I won't keep an eye on him. Good to hear, Atuma. It seems just like your people told me you were an honorable man. I finished my remarks. That will get you far with me. But know that if you should ever attempt to turn against me in any way, I will erase your entire existence. Are we clear? Atuma responded. We are, still kneeling. Again, good. I said, now then, heal and rest up. For there is much to be done, though one thing can be handled right now. Katma. When I yelled her name, she instantly approached me. Yes, Emperor Naruto? She inquired. From this moment forward you are now the official liaison between Atuma and his Atlanteans in Latveria. I made that clear. After I talked, Atuma and Katma looked at me as if I had a second head. Atuma, Katma has already apologized for her earlier folly, and I assure you it will not happen again. In addition, she is one of my most trusted subordinates, and one of my most powerful generals. There is no doubt in my mind she will be an invaluable asset to you. On the flip side, Katma, this is a chance for you to learn and watch from an experienced general. As well as a chance for you to prove to me that folly earlier with your words was a one-time incident. I repeated. Any questions? I inquired. Katma responded, no, my emperor. Atuma stated, I have none. I said, good. After that, I spoke with Atuma on a few more topics. Specifically, we turned the island we were on into a forward base of operations for our future joint Atlantean-Latvian activities in the world's oceans. Once this was completed, my group returned to Latveria, having completed an excellent day's work. Latveria. Doomstad, May 18, 2008. I sat in my personal office within Castle Doom, wearing a silly grin. Watching the satellite footage we obtained of Tony annihilating those militants in Afghanistan while wearing his Iron Man armor. I suppose Tony opted to gear up even though Yinsen was still alive. I'm glad about that, because an invincible armored Iron Man is a must-have in every Marvel universe. Plus, now we can be armor bros. Maybe I can even push him in the right direction to develop his nanotech armor sooner than he did in the films. Given how many more threats exist in this reality. I mean, I could do everything alone, but where's the joy in that? Furthermore, heroes must face adversity in order to learn and evolve. That is exactly why I will not be babysitting all the future heroes. Because they need to go through specific circumstances to become the people they are supposed to be. Like Tony's kidnapping in Afghanistan. I could have easily stopped it, of course, but I didn't. That experience has made him a better man in certain ways. So, yes. But there are some things that will never happen that I will never let happen. You can fucking count on that. Let's move on. I utilized my intercom system to call Jessica into my office once the video from Latveria's satellites stopped. Yes, Emperor Naruto. She questioned me when she got there. Within the next week, I need to plan another trip to the United States. And this time, it's not just for me, I said. Because this time I'll be bringing a few other people with me. Very well, sir. Who are these other people who will be going with us on this trip? Jessica questioned. Christoph, Doctors Hansen and Kinney, and their two daughters, Laura and Riri. I said, Christoph, because I think it's time I let the world know about him. From what I've seen of his training and what I've read from Brainiac and others, I think he's ready to take on the title of Son of Naruto. Sarah and Laura are coming because I answered Logan's email and arranged up a meeting with Charles Xavier, or Professor X. I'm bringing them both so they can see Logan, mostly Laura, though. He hasn't been to Latveria in months. It's clear that Maya and Riri are coming along for Tony. I can't wait to add a picture of his shocked expression when he finds out he's a dad to my collection. I'm amazed this hasn't happened before, since Tony acted like this before he became Iron Man. I believe he just really cared about protection in the bedroom. Hey, that's great for him. Understood, sir, Jessica said after I was done talking. I'll take care of everything, and we'll be back in the US in 3 days. Perfect. Good job as always, Jessica, I said. Thank you, sir, Jessica said. Then she went out of my office. After she did, I started working on a short presentation that I would be giving in a few days. I hope people like that. Los Angeles, California, United States of America, May 24, 2008. Tony crashed onto one of the many freeways in Los Angeles while wearing his Iron Man Mark III armor. He came to a stop on the ground. Yeah, I'm going to feel that in the morning, Tony said to himself. As he got back on his feet, at that moment, the guy who had sent him into the street in the first place landed in front of him. Obadiah Stane, wearing his Ironmonger outfit. Give up, Tony. You can't win, Stane said via his armor speakers. Sorry, I never know when to quit. You should know that, Tony said back. That's too bad. Well, welcome to your funeral, Stane said. Then he raised his left arm, which had a machine gun on it, toward Tony. Before Stane could shoot, music suddenly filled his ears. In particular, the song, Hell's Bells, by AC/DC. What the hell? Stane asked. Is this really the song you want to die to, Tony? Stane questioned. First of all, this isn't me, Tony said right away. Whoever picked it has great taste in music, he stated. Thanks, a fresh voice said all of a sudden. Both Tony and Stane looked at it when it did. As they did this, they noticed a person in armor with a green cape and hood flying down toward them. A cape, huh? That's cool, Tony thought. Okay, who the hell are you supposed to be? Naruto said, the name's Naruto von Regnum, your end. This was the very reason he wanted to get back to the US before the week was over. So he could help Tony cope with Ironmonger. All of it was part of his bigger intentions. Naruto opted to copy Megamind when it came to the AC/DC song. He was going to make his entry in style if he was going to do it. Naruto? Like the king of Latveria? Stain asked. Naruto said without a doubt, actually, I am him. That's why I can't let you kill Iron Man here. My people saved him, and if he dies at the hands of a cheap knockoff who can't compete with his genius or his father's genius, it would undo all of our hard work. Ain't that right, Stain? Stain got really upset when he heard this. Fuck you, Naruto, Stain yelled. Then he lifted his machine gun and started shooting at Naruto, who didn't even move when the bullets started to hit him. Stain started to smile when he saw this. He stopped shooting when he saw that his bullets had done nothing to Naruto's armor. They didn't even leave a mark on it like they did on Tony's. Is that it? Naruto asked, when Stain ceased shooting at him. Then it's my turn, he said. Then, before Stain could even say anything, Naruto appeared in front of him, as if he had teleported. But not this time. Naruto had just used his speed to get closer. Next up, before Stain could even blink, Naruto smacked him in the middle of the chest. His fist went right through the Ironmonger armor and into Stain's body. What? Stain was able to utter, but then he coughed up blood. Like I told you, Stain, I am your end, Naruto said again. Then he took his palm off of Stain's chest and flicked the blood off of it onto the street. Naruto then shot the Ironmonger with electrical energy, killing Stain and the suit without a second thought. He performed this for a few minutes before stopping. A black and burned mass was left behind in the suit, with Stain inside. After this was done, Naruto went up to Tony. He was speechless by what he had just seen. More so because his armor's scanners couldn't get any readings on Naruto's armor. He had never seen anything like it before. Naruto decided to break the silence when he saw that Tony wasn't going to talk. Hey Stark, that armor looks good on you. Tony came back to reality as he heard this. Thanks. Yours is nice too, Tony said. Naruto said, thanks. So, what do you say we leave? Yes, of course, Tony said. After that, he and Tony both utilized their thrusters to fly off into the night sky. But not before people used their phones to take pictures of them soaring away together. So, the next morning, both were trending on the internet. The two were given the name Armor Bros. Naruto's point of view. After I was done with Stain, I followed Tony as he flew to the main office of Stark Industries. I paused in the air when we got close enough for it to be in sight. Tony turned to look at me when I did. Why did you stop? He inquired. I'm not really in the mood to go to the party down there, I said. Because the LAPD, FBI, and most importantly SHIELD are all over Stark Industries HQ right now. Philip J. Coulson is in charge of the agents. I really want to meet this person. Because I liked Phil. In both the movies and the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Not just now, though. Coulson is one of Fury's most trusted operatives and one of the few people in the world who the eye patch-wearing king of paranoia, who is perhaps even more paranoid than Batman, can call a friend. So I know that if I walk down there right now, Coulson will call Fury right away and tell him I'm there. Then I'm sure he'll stop what he's doing and get here faster than I can say, motherfucker. Since I became ruler of Latveria, I've been playing a cat and mouse game with S.H.I.E.L.D. for the past few years. I really want this to end, but only on my conditions. Tonight is a big step toward making that happen. Got it, Tony said. I guess I'll see you later. Yes, you will definitely, Stark, I told him. Come to New York and we'll talk after you finish all your business here. Yeah, sure. Wait, what? Tony said. Then, before he could say anything further, I blasted off, grinning because I knew Tony was watching me soar at speeds that only his own armors and those based on their designs could reach. Well, he's completely wrong. That's what I'm showing him right now. I really hope Tony understands. Anyway, it took me less than 2 hours to go back to the East Coast after I left him. I could have gone back through the portal, of course. But I wanted to go the long way. I learned that flying over North America at night is really a lovely sight for the eyes. One that I was happy to soak in, until I got back to the Latverian embassy. I choose to watch some anime, notably Mobile Suit Gundam 00 Season 1, until the new day started. After it happened, I went online and found precisely what I thought I would. All the news and media sites, as well as the whole internet, are talking about what happened in Los Angeles last night. I even found several pictures that individuals took of Tony and myself. The internet has called us armor bros. I swear I had nothing to do with it. But I want to shake the hand of whoever came up with that name. The label has made the bond between Tony and me even stronger. That is exactly one of the numerous reasons I stepped in to help him fight Obadiah last night. Because of my ties to Iron Man and the Fantastic Four and what I did last night, regular people will now be on my side. That is a crucial step in finishing Project Sovereign. Individuals who have the support of others can do a lot of things if they use their power over those individuals wisely. I really plan to do it, and my friendships with the world's heroes, which I will keep working on. Not just with the ones that are already here, but also with the ones that will come. Sure. I love it when a plan comes together, as Hannibal from the A-Team would remark. I couldn't help but start to laugh as I leaned back in my office chair. After that, I chose to celebrate, so I got a bottle of scotch and a Cuban cigar and drank them both like a bad guy from a James Bond movie. Which was wonderful. Now I understand why they do it all the time. I was enjoying my triumph until I got a message that Tony was going to hold a special press conference. As soon as I saw this, I tuned in, and I'm glad I did because I saw one of the most famous scenes in the whole MCU. Where Tony told the world he was Iron Man. In actual life, it was even better than in the movies. After the news came out, reporters started asking him a lot of questions. Some were about Stain, some were about him, and some were even about me. Tony just went with the flow. That is, until he chose to give me the baton. Hey, if you have questions about the guy in the other suit, just ask him yourself. He's not hard to find, he's the king of Latveria, after all, Tony said. He then winked right at the TV. I knew that was for me. He probably did it to get back at me for leaving him last night. Well, he may joke all he wants, but I've already gotten ready to deal with this. I called Jessica into my office after turning off the screen. Yes, sir, she said. The second she walked in. Yeah, it looks like Stark just told the whole world about me, even though I saved his life last night. I said. I see, Jessica said to herself. That means we have to carry out the plans for your identity to become public. Always right, Jessica, I said to her. I really don't know what I would do without you. Sir, we both know you'd be fine, Jessica said. She had a smile on her face. Sure, but who would I have these funny conversations with? I asked her. Brainiac. Up yours, Naruto, Brainiac said. Yes, I said. Laughing. Jessica and Brainiac will be joining me soon. It's always nice to have a good chuckle with pals. May 27, 2008. Nick Fury had to stay on his toes as he walked through the halls of the Latvian embassy. It's been 3 days since the event in Los Angeles that involved Tony Stark. He threw the cover narrative Coulson provided him out the window and told everyone that he was Iron Man. That was one of the main problems Fury has in the last few years. That's why he chose to talk to Stark that particular night. Fury is sure that Stark wouldn't have listened to a word he said. But that was something to deal with later. Fury was probably thinking about the main problem that had been bothering him for the past few years. Naruto von Regnum, who Stark had said on live TV was the other man in armor who had helped him beat Stain. Fury's supervisors were not thrilled about this, especially because S.H.I.E.L.D. hadn't been able to receive any good information from Latveria since Naruto von Regnum took over as its head. Fury was sure that the World Security Council was about to take more extreme steps against Naruto because of the opening of Naruto's school, the hiring of famous American scientists like Otto Octavius and Tony Ho, the fact that soldiers from Naruto's military were able to free Stark from captivity when S.H.I.E.L.D. and no one else could, and what happened the other night in Los Angeles. Fury told them straight up that it was a bad idea, taking into account the man's money and politics. Not to add that he is good friends with the now famous and loved Fantastic Four. And don't forget about his new bond with Tony Stark. Naruto also wore armor when he became involved in the fight against Stain and Stark. Stark even said that his own suit's sensors couldn't figure it out. Fury knew that even Stark couldn't pull any information off of Naruto's armor, thus he was a bear that should not be touched. Which, thankfully, Fury's employers decided to do for now. But they still wanted something on Latveria. That's why he is at the Latverian embassy right now. After Stark told the world that Naruto was the man in the third armor that night in Los Angeles, his embassy was flooded with reporters, every media outlet you could think of, and US government operatives from every acronym agency you could think of. All of them wanted some of the good kind and King's time. But Naruto quickly forgot about them all. Instead, he just sent out a prepared news release to the media and had his lawyers and other people handle the government. This made the ruler of Latveria agree to let 2 Homeland Security agents interrogate him about what he did in Los Angeles. But just them. The US administration made a bargain, given Naruto's reputation in various circles. So when Fury heard about this bargain, he planned to go undercover as one of the Homeland Security agents that Naruto von Regnum had agreed to talk to. Fury brought one of his most trusted agents with him as backup, pretending to be the other Homeland Security agent. Barbara, Bobby, Morse. The name is Mockingbird. Here they are. Jessica, Naruto's aide, brought Fury and Bobby to the door of his office. Fury and Bobby both knew from away that she wasn't just a normal assistant. They both understood that the woman was quite skilled, from how she moved to the way she acted in other ways. But they didn't say anything about it, especially because she worked for the king of another country. Cheel made a note of it for the file on Latveria, nevertheless. Even though it didn't have much valuable information anymore. Just through here. King Naruto is waiting, Jessica added. Yes, thank you, Bobby said. Fury said, what my partner said. Then he opened the door and went into the office, with Bobby right behind him. Fury locked the door after both of them were inside. As he did this, he and Bobby turned their attention to the monarch of Latveria, who was sitting behind his desk and relaxing. Naruto von Regnum. When Fury and Bobby took Naruto, they both felt a tingle on the backs of their necks right away. They could see right away that Naruto was more dangerous than he looked. Because they have been trained and worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. for many years. Naruto said, well, I didn't think I'd get the big boss of S.H.I.E.L.D. himself. This is a nice surprise, and a welcome one, since I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. Bobby and Fury didn't say anything, though. Fury responded, sorry, sir, I don't know what you mean. Hey, my name is Colonel Nick Fury, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Naruto cut in and finished for Fury. And I can only guess that the woman next to you is one of your agents, he replied. Naruto knew exactly who he was looking for. Bobby Morse, also known as Mockingbird. When he saw her, he used his technopathy to tell the nanites in the room to get a blood sample from her, just like they were doing with Nick Fury. Naruto wanted to see if this version of Mockingbird had a mix of the Infinity Formula and the Super Soldier Serum in her blood. He also had his nanites gather blood from Nick Fury for same reason. To find out if he possessed the Infinity Formula or a Super Soldier Serum in his blood, like many of his comic book versions had. Naruto didn't need either serum, though, because he has made so many of them. He just wants to satisfy his curiosity about them. Fury decided to stop pretending when he heard Naruto call him out so clearly. Yes, you're right. I'm Nick Fury, the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. This woman next to me is one of my agents. You can call her Mockingbird, he added. Naruto asked, oh Mockingbird, does that mean you copy voices or something? Bobby laughed dryly and said, haha, very funny, she said with a straight face. Naruto thought to himself, it was just a question. Yeah. So let's stop messing around and tell us what you really want, Bobby said. Fury responded, what my agent said. Okay then, Naruto said. Let's get right to the point. I know that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been trying to learn more about me and my country ever since I freed it from the Fortunov family and the stupid governments that ruled it. I just want you to stop doing that. No matter how hard you try or what method you use, you'll never get the results you want. Bobby said, you sound so sure, but you never know. No, Agent Mockingbird, I do know, Naruto said. Because you are talking about my country, my homeland, and the place I rule, Latveria, you will get nothing on it unless I let you. Take those words to be the truth. He spoke this in a tone that made it clear he meant it. Bobby and Fury both knew that Naruto was not joking. They knew he wasn't lying because of the look in his eyes. We hear you, but we can't just stop what we're doing, Fury added. Ah, no, I know. Your bosses are on the World Security Council, and you're probably getting a lot of pressure from other places, like the United Nations, Naruto said in a nonchalant tone, showing exactly what Fury has been going through for the past 2 years. How far does his reach go? Fury thought. Naruto remarked, I don't envy your job, Director Fury. All those people telling you what to do and expecting you to do impossible things at times. I guess that's why all the hair on your head has fallen out. Taking an artificial tear out of his eye. That comment made Fury's one decent eye twitch. Bobby tried to hold back her laughs. She had to admit that was funny. Naruto said, don't worry, I'll help you keep your hair and get all your bosses off your back. Fury asked, how? What could you possibly do? Naruto made him smile like a demon when he did it. Why, I'm glad you asked. Simply put, I'll give you access to tools that will make your job easier. These include technology, intelligence, and even real assets that will help your agency complete some of its hardest missions. And what do you want in return? Fury inquired. He had been around long enough to know that a bargain like this had to have some kind of catch. Naruto said, we can figure that out later. After all, I don't want to give you both too much to think about in one day. Let's put that conversation on hold for now, and I'll tell you why I helped Tony Stark fight Obadiah Stane in Los Angeles 3 nights ago. That's what I want to hear, Bobby said. Why did you do that? Naruto said, I didn't want Stark or any innocent people to get hurt. Are you serious? Bobby inquired. I assure you, I am quite serious, Naruto replied. As a friend of the community, I felt compelled to intervene rather than remain passive while individuals were caught in the conflict. I took action to resolve the situation before any significant harm could arise, including to Stark's, considering it was members of my military who facilitated his rescue. And how exactly did they achieve that when no one else, not even Cheel, could? Fury inquired. All in due time, Nick. That is, once you accept my proposal, Naruto responded. While I don't require a response today, please take some time to consider it. I look forward to hearing back from you, he stated. Naruto subsequently tossed a card towards Fury, who successfully caught it. Upon doing so, Fury glanced at the card and noticed a phone number displayed on it. Please provide a number where I can be reached once you have made a decision regarding my offer, Naruto stated. Good day to you both, he stated. Following the conclusion of the meeting with Fury, Bobby and her colleague departed from his office and were subsequently escorted out of the Latverian embassy. Both individuals are still contemplating the meeting they recently had with Naruto. Bobby is contemplating the extent of information she should share with her husband, Clint, as Fury contemplated Naruto's proposal. This also positions the individual as the foremost threat globally at this time. The recent meeting has solidified the agreement in his mind. Naruto's perspective while utilizing the exterior surveillance equipment installed throughout the embassy grounds to confirm that Nick and Bobby had indeed taken their leave, I commenced strategizing what I would present to Fury upon his acceptance of my proposal. I am confident that he would. Unlike his superiors, Fury maintains a clear perspective and is not involved in any questionable affiliations. I believe we have the potential to achieve significant success together moving forward. Additionally, having the true shield supporting me will significantly contribute to the success of Project Sovereign while minimizing unnecessary bloodshed. The blood of those who are significant. While I was reflecting on the future, Jessica entered my office, interrupting my thoughts. Yes, Jessica? I inquired. Sir, I apologize for the interruption, but your second meeting of the day is now ready to commence, she informed me. They have arrived ahead of schedule, I remarked. Yes. What would you like me to do? She inquired. I instructed them to be shown to a meeting room and informed them that I would arrive shortly. I said. Certainly, Jessica responded. She subsequently exited my office. After she finished, I took a moment to center myself and mentally prepare for my second significant meeting of the day. Upon completion of my tasks, I exited my office and proceeded directly to the room where my guests were awaiting my arrival. I entered upon arrival, discovering renowned Marvel characters indulging in snacks and refreshments. I am referring to the X-Men. We begin with the founder of the group, Charles Xavier, recognized as one of the most powerful naturally gifted telepaths in history. Referred to as Professor X, who fortunately bears no resemblance to Patrick Stewart. The individual continued to portray Picard in Star Trek. Secondly, we have the Weather Mistress and Chocolate Goddess, both in a literal and figurative sense, Ororo Munro, who is also referred to as Storm, who closely resembles Halle Berry. Next, we have the notable Blue Furball, recognized as one of the most intelligent individuals in the Marvel Universe, Hank McCoy, also known as Beast. Lastly, we have Logan, who clearly requires no introduction. Greetings to everyone. While some of you may be familiar with me, I believe introductions are still appropriate. I am Naruto von Regnum, the King of Latveria. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, I stated. Shortly after I completed my task, both Sarah and Laura entered the room. The individual approached the couch where Logan was seated and took a position beside him. "Ah, so this young individual must be the Laura you have mentioned, Logan," Ororo remarked. Logan responded, "Indeed, she is. You must be Dr. Sarah Kinney," Hank addressed her. "I must express that the limited information I have encountered regarding your work prior to your unjust imprisonment has piqued my interest," he stated. "I appreciate your kind words, Dr. Henry McCoy," Hank completed for Sarah. "However, the majority of individuals commonly address me as Hank." "Understood, Dr. McCoy," Sarah responded. She then took a seat on the couch where Hank was sitting, and the two of them promptly engaged in a scientific discussion, becoming engrossed in their own conversation. Ororo was engaged in lightheartedly teasing Logan regarding Laura. Upon observing this, I directed my focus to the only other available gentleman in the room, Charles. I am grateful that I have not perceived any attempts to invade my thoughts. However, that does not imply that I am becoming complacent in my interactions with him. Unfortunately, that is not ideal, particularly in light of my understanding of the different versions of him. In anticipation of his visit today, I provided each individual currently residing on the embassy grounds with a bracelet I developed. This device generates a psychic dampening field around the wearer, impervious even to the abilities of an Omega-level telepath. I am aware, as I have conducted multiple test runs with Thaddeus. If Charles is indeed a manipulator of thoughts, he is not imposing himself on anyone's minds in this context today. I sincerely hope that is not the case. I have plans that I am eager to see come to fruition with the individual I wish to engage with. However, the outcome of today's meeting will ascertain whether that can be achieved. I took a seat in the chair adjacent to Charles. "Charles, could you share what Logan has conveyed regarding my background?" "Not much," Charles responded. "Essentially, you located him and communicated Laura's existence to him. However, this was only after you successfully rescued her and her mother from their captors," he clarified. "He also mentioned your friendship with mutants." "Evos," I promptly responded. "I, along with those in my circle, prefer to refer to you as Evos Charles. The term, mutant, carries negative connotations for me, evoking images of grotesque monsters from horror films or dreadful diseases. Such terminology should not be applied to individuals like you, Charles, as you remain fundamentally human. You have simply evolved in a certain sense," I stated, ensuring that my message is effectively communicated to Charles. I am committed to transforming the term, mutant, when referring to individuals with an active X gene, into a purely derogatory slur. "Understood," Charles responded. "I reached out to Logan to facilitate this meeting because I need your assistance on a matter that requires immediate attention." "Could you please clarify what that is?" I inquired. "Although I am already aware, in recent months, there has been a concerning trend of young Mu Evos and their families going missing, raising significant safety concerns. I would appreciate your assistance in locating them." "I am unable to do that," I responded. "Why?" Charles inquired. "I am already aware of the location you are referring to. It is in my country, Latveria," I stated. "What is their purpose for being there?" Ororo inquired suddenly. It appears she concluded her playful banter with Logan regarding Laura and promptly engaged in my discussion. "I have no objections. For their protection," I replied. "Are you referring to protection?" "Indeed, Professor Xavier. It is for their protection," I stated. "Your school lacks the capacity to accommodate all the young Evos and their families who require protection. This is due to the hostility from ordinary citizens who react negatively towards them, stemming from a lack of understanding about what Evos truly are, as well as the hate groups that actively seek to target them. Similar to the Friends of Humanity, There exists a concern regarding the potential risks that certain EVOs may present to themselves or those in their vicinity, contingent upon the powers that emerge upon the activation of their X gene. These factors, among others, underscore my commitment to directing my loyal associates to seek out EVOs worldwide and facilitate their relocation to Latveria. There, they can experience a degree of normalcy, at least until society evolves to embrace them, or until I ascend to a position of leadership. However, I will refrain from vocalizing that sentiment. You are undertaking a commendable initiative, King Naruto. However, how can these EVOs be embraced globally if they remain concealed within your own nation? Charles inquired. I would appreciate your assistance with that matter, along with your X-Men. I stated, surprising all the X-Men in attendance. I understand that you may need time to consider this matter. Please take your time to reflect on it, and I look forward to hearing from you when you're ready. I stated. Understood. I am capable of fulfilling that request. Xavier acknowledged. I am pleased to hear that, I responded. After that, I proceeded to engage in further discussions with the X-Men. Ultimately, they all departed. I extended an open invitation for them to visit Latveria in the future. I am confident that they will all develop a strong appreciation for it after their experience. Everything is proceeding as intended. As always, it is advantageous to be Naruto. June 2, 2008. As I leaned against the SUV I had arrived in, I observed the landing of Tony's private jet on the tarmac. The individual has finally arrived in New York after successfully managing all his affairs in Los Angeles related to his announcement as Iron Man to the global audience. Additionally, there was the minor inconvenience previously referred to as Obadiah Stane. The aircraft promptly came to a complete halt. When it was complete, the cabin door opened and Tony exited, subsequently accompanied by 3 additional individuals. Ho Yinsen. Greetings, Hogan. Finally, we have Miss Pepper Potts. As they commenced their approach to their SUV, I began to move in their direction, connecting with them promptly. In the past, Tony and I exchanged a firm handshake. Naruto, Tony stated. Stark, I responded. Thank you for bringing my situation to light on television. I truly appreciated that, I remarked with a hint of sarcasm. There's no need for gratitude, I'm simply assisting a friend, Tony responded. Are you referring to the time I intervened to prevent you from being overwhelmed by Stane? I replied. We both shared a moment of laughter. Oh no, now there are 2 of him, Pepper remarked quietly. As she proceeded, I directed my focus towards her. I approached, took her free hand, and delicately placed a kiss upon it before offering her a warm smile. It is a pleasure to meet you, Miss Potts. I am Naruto von Regnum, at your service. You have my highest regard. Anyone capable of managing the antics of Mr. Stark certainly deserves that much. Hello. Tony exclaimed. I chose to disregard him, focusing instead on observing Pepper's slight blush in response to my words. Thank you. It is a pleasure to meet you as well, King Naruto. There is no need for such formalities. I encounter enough of that already. If you prefer, you may simply address me as Naruto or Mr. Naruto. I informed her. Certainly, Pepper responded. Thank you, I expressed to her. I subsequently focused my attention on Happy. Mr. Hogan. Mr. Naruto, he replied. Upon his completion, I directed my attention to Yinsen. Dr. Yinsen, it's a pleasure to see that you are in good health. I remarked. Yes, thank you. I am, he responded. I am confident that Tony is quite pleased, I remarked. Did someone call for me? Tony inquired. Not you, Tony. I'm referring to Yinsen's daughter, who is currently under my employment, I stated. Are you referring to the individual that your soldiers presented to us during their rescue efforts? Tony inquired. Indeed, it is. I responded. That's great, Tony remarked. Once he completed his task, I redirected my attention to Yinsen. I understand that Tony has brought you on board? I inquired. He has, Yinsen responded. That is satisfactory, I remarked. Excellent. As a result, no other terrorist organization will be able to access Yinsen without confronting Iron Man first. This indicates that his intellect is secure. That remains to be seen, Yinsen responded. Excuse me, is today designated as a national celebration for Tony? Tony inquired. I responded with, or something. Securing a laugh from all attendees, with the exception of Tony. Someone is directing an unfriendly gaze my way, which I am choosing to disregard, proceeding forward. Once the laughter subsided, we proceeded with our plans. All individuals entered their designated vehicles and proceeded to our destination, arriving promptly. The objective is to reach the newly constructed skyscraper, which will function as the primary headquarters for the future foundation. After months of effort, it is finally completed, and it appears magnificent. Impressive architecture, Tony remarked, examining the future foundation headquarters. Thank you, I responded. Now, please allow me to guide you on a tour, I stated. I proceeded to enter the skyscraper. The grand opening party took place this weekend. I extended an invitation to Tony, as he would be in town at that time. An invitation he accepted. Norman remains unchanged. This event is developing into something quite remarkable. As I proceeded, the others trailed closely behind me. Once everyone was inside the building, I commenced the tour as I had promised. The facility includes conference rooms and state-of-the-art laboratories designed for individuals accepted into the foundation to develop their projects. Tony was visibly excited when we reached that part of the tour. Fortunately, Pepper was present to bring him back to reality. In a literal sense, she struck him on the back of the head to bring him out of his daze. Tony is fortunate to have such a remarkable woman by his side. Now he just needs to organize his efforts sufficiently to finalize the agreement. Wishing you the best of luck, nonetheless. The tour concluded swiftly. Once it was completed, I guided everyone back to the main lobby. A surprise was prepared for our guests. Tony, Yinsen called out as soon as we entered the main lobby. As his daughter was present, awaiting our arrival, organized by me. She was not by herself. Maya, Riri, Kristoff, Jessica, and the Fantastic Four were present as well. I wanted everyone to gather and interact prior to the party. Due to a variety of factors. Yes, Dad. It is I, Tony responded. She approached Yinsen and embraced him, a gesture he returned warmly. So, that is the other Tony, is it? Tony reflected. She possesses a striking appearance. She also plays for the opposing team, I whispered to him. Tony acknowledged my words with a nod. He then directed his attention towards Maya, who approached him with Riri accompanying her. The former displayed a tense expression, whereas the latter had a cheerful smile. Given that Riri is among Tony's most devoted admirers, this presents a significant irony. Hello, Tony, Maya said. Hello, he responded. I apologize, but may I ask if we are acquainted? He inquired. Upon his action, Maya regarded him with a flat expression, while Pepper expressed her dismay with a facepalm. Happy, being the knowledgeable individual he is, chose to promptly distance himself from the situation and engage with the F4. Bern, Switzerland. 1999. New Year's, does that resonate with you? Maya inquired, her voice tinged with frustration. However, if I were in her position, I would likely feel some frustration as well. Tony paused for a moment, and then I noticed he experienced a moment of clarity. Indeed, Dr. Hansen. An unusual formula, Tony remarked. Maya responded, yes, that is indeed me. And this is my daughter, Ruri, she stated. Riri approaching Tony with confidence. Good afternoon, Mr. Stark, Riri addressed him. Hello there. Tony responded to her. He then observed Riri for a few moments, before a slightly strained expression appeared on his face. He promptly redirected his focus to Maya. I apologize, did you mention that this is your daughter? Maya responded affirmatively. I was born in the year 2000, she stated. Could you please clarify the reason? She bears a resemblance to my mother, Tony remarked, trailing off. A look of understanding crossed his face as he successfully connected all the clues. Pepper receiving the same expression. Maya acknowledged Tony with a subtle smirk and a nod. It is probable that this aligns with the man's own beliefs regarding Riri's parentage. When this occurred, Tony suddenly experienced a moment of realization. The expression on his face. Click. I promptly took a photograph with my phone. After completing the task, I promptly distanced myself from the group of four, avoiding involvement in the ensuing complications, since the situation was clearly about to escalate. Rather than getting involved in that situation, I chose to join F4, Happy, and Kristoff. The four cast me an unusual glance as I integrated into their small gathering. Is there something on my face? I inquired. No, however, may I inquire why you did not inform us about having a son? Susan inquired. Oh, I believed I had informed you of that. My apologies if I did not, I replied. You did not. Johnny stated. Indeed, Naruto, such an event would certainly have left an impression on us, Ben remarked. Could you please inform me of the whereabouts of his mother? Deceased. I promptly responded. Before any misconceptions arise, I would like to clarify that Kristoff is my adopted son, I explained. Upon completing the four, I observed the peculiar expressions on their faces. Susan exhaled with a sense of relief. I would appreciate it if you could clarify whether you believed I entered into a relationship with Kristoff's mother and subsequently left her. I inquired of the four. It is probable that this aligns with their perceptions of me. When none of them responded to my inquiry and actively avoided eye contact, I realized that my assumptions about their thoughts were accurate. Upon realizing this, I directed a composed gaze at the individual present. I must say, I am surprised by your perceptions. Is this how you all truly view me? Even you, Susan? That is not the case, Naruto, Susan responded promptly. You arrive with a young man who claims to be your son, and this information has not been previously disclosed, so. I understand, that's perfectly fine, I responded. Please consult with me before reaching any conclusions in the future. Understood. The four responded simultaneously. Excellent, I stated. I approached Susan and gently placed my arm around her waist, before giving her a brief kiss on the lips. Now, let's set aside the Naruto and negativity. We have a party to plan. I stated, only to begin receiving peculiar glances from the remainder of the four once more shortly thereafter. Meanwhile, Susan exhibited a noticeable flush, reminiscent of youthful innocence. Please refrain from sharing that information with me. Susan, did you not inform the others about our situation? I inquired. Only for Susan's face to become even more flushed at my inquiry. She confirmed that she did not. There are certainly more challenging situations to consider. I could find myself in Tony's position at this time, who appears to prefer being in any other location at this moment. In this context, I achieved success. I apologize, but I stand by my position, Iron Man. Susan and Naruto, Susan and Naruto, Susan and Naruto. Reed continued to contemplate. The two of them informed him and the remaining members of the four that they had progressed to a new stage in their relationship. A more personal one. As Reed listened, he experienced a constriction in his chest. Observing Susan in Naruto's embrace, he found himself deep in thought. That appears to be him holding her. Susan, could you please explain your reasoning? Reed commenced a period of contemplation. He inquired about her decision to select Naruto instead of him. At that moment, Reed Richards began to encounter an emotion he had never previously experienced. Envy. Naruto's perspective. I entered my private bedroom at the embassy, opening the door with care. Susan is closely following me, given her decision to stay overnight. With the public awareness of our updated relationship status, they all received it quite well. All individuals are included, with the exception of Reed. I could perceive the jealousy emanating from him, despite his efforts to conceal it. I would prefer not to delve into the man's thoughts that I encountered earlier. They portrayed Richards as the quintessential example of a male yandere in development. It is not surprising, given the typical outcomes for most versions of Reed Richards when he does not unite with Susan Storm. The time to remove him is approaching. This indicates that I must complete all my preparations in that area at the earliest opportunity. However, this evening is not suitable. No, this evening I will be spending some much anticipated quality time with Susan. In contrast to Tony, who will find himself alone in bed tonight, relying solely on his own company, it is evident how fatigued he appeared after his earlier interactions with Maya and Pepper. On a positive note, Riri now has her father in her life, and he serves as one of her idols, which is a significant silver lining. Proceeding forward. As Susan closed the door to my bedroom, I approached her from behind and gently nibbled on her left ear. Naruto, Susan stated with a tone of astonishment. However, she did not withdraw from my presence. Come now, Susan. I'm simply providing what you sought when you arrived. I whispered softly into her ear. I sensed her entire body tremble upon my completion. I observed this with a slight smirk. I then promptly turned Susan to face me and engaged her in a deep kiss. Following my actions, she embraced me, enhancing our kiss while gradually pressing her lower body against mine. Which led to a certain phenomenon beginning to rise, and it is certainly not the Shield hero. As Susan continued to engage with me, I skillfully guided us towards the bed. Once I did, I broke our kiss, a connection lingering between our lips in the process. As I observed her, Susan displayed an intense expression, her cheeks tinged with a noticeable flush. Upon observing this, I recognized that further discussion was entirely unnecessary. I assisted Susan onto the bed and then proceeded to remove my clothing. Susan is performing the same task. Until both of us were completely unclothed, as we were at birth. As you are already aware, the remainder is understood. This elicited a sense of pride in me. That sensation vanished in an instant as I became aware of a presence just outside my bedroom door. I went right over and cracked it open a bit. I was surprised to see Jessica outside, just leaning against the wall. Her face was flushed, and there was a puddle beneath her. As soon as I saw this, it hit me that she had been eavesdropping on me and Susan just now. I didn't really notice her earlier since I was caught up in my own thoughts. I honestly didn't expect Jessica to turn out to be such a pervert. While I kept looking at her, she eventually caught my eye and turned to look at me. Her face turned bright red a moment later, but that didn't stop Jessica from giving me the once-over. I could totally feel the lust and desire coming off her as she did that. Everything is coming my way. Just to be clear, I wasn't involved in that at all. I just made her loyal to Latveria and to me. I definitely didn't make her feel love for me. My emperor, this is. Well, I mean it's not exactly, Jessica gave it a shot to say. Before I raised my hand and interrupted her. Hold on to that. I get what this is all about, and I totally know how to handle you. I had a chat. I used my telekinesis to bring Jessica into my room and then shut the door. Once they wrapped up, Jessica got up and took a bow. Thanks, Emperor Naruto, she mentioned. So, Jessica walked out of my bedroom. As she did that, I couldn't help but smile again. Looks like I just added another queen to my collection tonight. Okay. June 5, 2008. As I stood in front of my bedroom's full-length mirror, I checked to make sure my iconic green suit looked just right. Tonight's the big night for the grand opening party of the new HQ for the Future Foundation. Everything was all set and ready to go. Alright, let's get this party started. But you know what? Tonight is also the night I get to introduce Kristoff as my son to everyone out there. I'm excited to share that I'm in a new relationship with Susan. She totally agreed to do that just the other day. After checking out my suit and how everything looked, I took a step back from the mirror. I stepped out of my room and made my way to where the vehicles were parked, ready to take me and everyone else joining me tonight to the Future Foundation HQ. When I got there, I saw that everyone else who was heading to the party tonight had already shown up. That would be Kristoff, of course. Maya and Riri, so Tony is still coming tonight even after everything that happened the other day, and Dr. Hansen thought it would be good for Riri to spend some more personal time with her dad. Hey, Jessica. Who's currently flaunting a strapless black dress that really shows off her figure? So, in the end, we had Zod and Frag showing up. I called someone over from Latveria to help out tonight. Even though this party has tons of security and both Tony and the F4 will be there, I still feel more at ease with some heavy hitters around. Well, this is the Marvel Universe we're talking about, and you know how it goes. Just when you think things can't get any worse, that's when they really go off the rails. So, yeah. Plus, this is a great opportunity to see how the cover identities I created for Zod and Frag, just like I did for the other Primarchs, hold up when they're under the spotlight. I did it so my Primarchs can roam around outside of Latveria without anyone digging into their backgrounds. At least until Project Sovereign is all set and ready to go. After that, they'll just toss their fake names aside. So, for now, when Zod is outside of Latveria, people will mostly know him as Connor Kent. So, Frag is going to be known as Nolan Grayson. As soon as I got there, all eyes were on me. So, what are we waiting for? There's a party going on just for us, I mentioned. So, once I was done, everyone hopped into the vehicles and we all started making our way to the party. I stepped out of the vehicle as it came to a stop right outside the entrance to the Future Foundation HQ. Kristoff is stepping out right behind me. He was wearing his own green suit. As soon as we did this, camera flashes started hitting us from all directions. And then there were all those questions thrown at us by reporters. They're being held back by security, along with a few Doombots. I just smiled and waved at everyone, then started walking away. Kristoff is copying what I do. Just a classic father and son duo, you know. We kept going until we were inside the building. Right after that, I noticed Susan coming my way. She's rocking a gorgeous dark blue dress that perfectly complements her eyes. You look really lovely. I mentioned it to her. Oh, thank you. Susan said with a smile. I'm taking my left arm. Just a few seconds later, Jessica showed up and grabbed my right one. The woman with spider powers has been showing me a lot more affection lately since I gave her a shot of vitamin D. Which Susan isn't really happy about. I'm not really concerned about it, since I'm going to have multiple queens. I can totally handle this with ease. Susan, Jessica said. Jessica, Susan said. Hey ladies, come on. We're just here to have a good time. I had a chat. Just brushing off the glares they both shot my way. I'm not just any beta male harem protagonist. I'm Naruto von Regnum. That's all there is to it. Noticing that their glares didn't bother me at all, both women decided to back off. When they finally did, I just nodded. Then, our whole group walked into the conference hall where the party was happening. Everyone was watching us as we went by. So, after they did that, I began to hear whispers. I just brushed that off right away. Instead, I'm going to start mingling with all the guests here tonight. It included everyone from scientists to big names in the business world, and even a few movie stars and talk show hosts, among others. Everyone has shown their public support for the Future Foundation. While I was having a conversation with Oprah Winfrey, Jimmy Kimmel, Conan, and even Elon Musk, I paused when I spotted a group in the room that clearly wasn't supposed to be there. Following a guy who's not even alive anymore. Well, at least in my past life. Right now, I'm looking at none other than Chadwick Boseman, the one and only Prince T'Challa of Wakanda, also known as the future Black Panther. Right now, he's hanging out with a small crew of Dora Milaje, and guess who's leading them? Yep, it's Okoye. They're all coming straight for me. Oh, they're really trying to be discreet, but I can totally tell I'm their main focus with those little glances they keep throwing my way. I reached out to Brainiac using my technopathy, keeping that in mind. Hey, can you help me out? I'm trying to figure out why I'm checking out the price of Wakanda and his personal guard, harem at the Future Foundation grand opening party right now. I went ahead and asked him. No way. Hold on a second. Brainiac chimed in. I'm really sorry, Your Majesty. Looks like the Wakandians managed to get on the guest list by stepping in for someone else. I just realized that now. Should I get security to escort them out? Sure, that's fine. I'll take care of them and their prince myself. I got back to them. I'm starting to get why the Wakandians have gone through all this trouble to reach me. Hey, don't worry about the Wakandians crashing the party, Brainiac. It happens. Did you know their technology is nearly on par with Latveria's? Let's ensure this doesn't happen again. Okay. Sure thing. Brainiac responded. I decided to end our conversation and reached out to Zod and Thrag telepathically to team up with me. Looks like we have some unexpected guests to handle. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.